I have to admit, I spent the first 30 minutes of my workday today regulating my nervous system enough so that I could sit down to write. I know I'm not the only one who recognizes this. As we are writers, we write. If you have a story to tell, you want to write a book, you have to write. You have to make time to sit down to write. You have to build it into your life. And yet, there is so much life happening. And I don't just mean in your personal life, although that's the case for most people right now. You have a lot of things intruding on the space that you want to carve out for yourself to write. But on top of that, we're all hearing this echo that these are not easy times. If life isn't lifing in your own home, all you have to do is turn on the news or look on your phone or scroll, and you'll see and get the sense that the world is loud right now, and our hearts are being pulled in a million different directions, and our nervous systems are constantly being asked to process more than they are designed to hold. And I'm sure you're seeing this too. You're feeling this too everywhere. It's hard to focus right now. It's hard to keep going. It's hard to sit down and write. It's hard to build time in the day for something that requires quiet and presence and emotional honesty. So we postpone, I'm guilty of that too. We say, once this news cycle is over, once things calm down at work, once, tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it next week. We put things off. But if there's one thing that I've learned is that stories don't get written, books don't get written in the someday. In order to actually accomplish telling a story or writing a book, you need to learn how to write even in the midst of real life. And whenever I come up against a struggle in my own practice, my thoughts inevitably turn outwards to other writers. How do we keep going together? And I notice that when I'm stuck, I instinctively reach towards community, like writing groups and showing up for write-ins or just listening to other writers talk about their writing and their practice. It's spending time in spaces where writing is, normal and expected and it's held with care. Because otherwise, because doing those things helps us do more. Even though it's hard, it helps us do more and to push forward and to keep going because it holds us. Yes, writing is solitary, but sustaining a writing practice and a writing life rarely is. And, the other truth that I always come back to is that said, um, virtually anyone can find time to do the bare minimum. The bare minimum is all that really matters sometimes. And virtually anyone can find something like 5 minutes a day to write. And you may feel like that's not a lot to accomplish, but what that 5 minutes is about keeping the relationship alive, just keeping that relationship alive with your writing, with your practice. In 5 minutes a day does eventually lead you to something, but not doing anything leads to nothing. And those 5 minutes may be hard, may be awkward, you may be resistant, and have 100 reasons why this is futile. But what you'll find is if you stick with it, often something shifts, as it did with me today when I was trying to regulate my nervous system enough to sit down. You kind of slip into the world of the story that you're telling. You get into the zone, and then 5 minute becomes 10 or more. And that's why, writing challenges are always effective. Whether it's 5 minutes a day, giving yourself a challenge of that, or 100 words a day for 30 days or for 15 days or 21 days, you know? So it's not really so much about the output, it's about that trust, the building trust with yourself that you're showing yourself that you will come back, you will return to the practice. And of course, there are certain disciplines that help us to sustain and maintain a daily writing habit, even in turbulent times. Um, of the most obvious one is, as I've referred to, creating time for it, having a structured schedule that keeps you grounded, so you always know when you should be writing. But also, the other piece of it is making that time work for you. So you're writing, you are carving out time to write when you are most effective, most lucid, most creative, least disturbed. So, you know, that goes hand in hand with creating time to write. And then you just measure progress your way. Whether it's a word count or it's in minutes or it's simply showing up, it's you are defining your success by your capacity. And tracking that progress makes the process more satisfying because it reminds you that something is actually happening. And then stick to it. It's having that habit that will create the relief. And you'll no longer need to renegotiate with yourself every day. You know what needs to be done and when. So all of this is really about tending to your work, tending the relationship that you have with your writing, your creativity, making room for your work, creating space for it, returning to it, tracking your progress, and sticking with it. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes something that you return to more easily. And it can even be a relief from whatever it is that's going on around you if you're carving out your time effectively. So yes, that's what I wanted to share is that I don't think we're meant to do this alone, especially during times like these. We need spaces where we can be held, where, we can soften enough to receive, and we can tell our stories in the containers that they can be told in. So just know that if you are feeling like, you know, just dysregulated and struggling to come back, it's perfectly human, especially in these times. And simply tending to your practice as gently as your capacity will allow will build that relationship enough so that one day you will look up and you will see that you'll see something you can work with. Yes. So I'm sensing that there are many people out there like me who are longing for some kind of a structure, or more support that understands both the creative process and the nervous system that carries it. So I am in the process of shaping a grounded, trauma-informed container for writers who want a space to write with steadiness and care and community. So more on that coming soon, but for now, just know that you do not need to approach your story or your writing with any urgency. It just needs your writing, your practice just needs a safe place to be held and a safe place to land. And yes, I hope that helps to ground you a little bit in these times. And thank you so much for being here and following along.